was gonna have that other video be the last one, but this really cringed me. Take a look.
We should all have a chance to see those iterations completed to the end of their story.
Like the other stuff that got canceled. Yeah.
But this whole thing with the DCEU not having a completion and not having an end is going to damage the DC brand.
What about ending it with comic books? What about ending it with animation? What about ending it with the podcast type of deal? What about ending it just to end it?
For many years, and if Warner Brothers Discovery does not fix it, their films are going to continue to suffer.
Yeah, suffer through the people that are very, very cult-like about it, because I'm not the only one that says that it's kind of like a cult where they're forcing a company to make something that may or may not succeed and may or may not lose them a whole lot of money. And the fact that they're really in debt, why would they make something that would put them more in debt just to possibly get their money back? Instead, why don't they just let other streaming things borrow their intellectual property to put it in their streaming thing, get money that way, and make it a constant thing, right? Putting the Snyderverse into Netflix, possibly removing it from Max, would clear it up for Max's reputation of the DC thing, making it so that people that still want the DCEU would go to Netflix, and within the viewership within that Netflix thing, they'll get money from that. And also, if it succeeds, they would have to renew the license to be able to keep that there on Netflix. So even then, Warner Bros. Would get money through that. So no matter what, doing this is a smart move, because while the DCEU would be in Netflix, the DCU would be on Max. And not making new stuff for it would be better, because they won't be making a thing that's competing with what they're doing right now, and they're planning a lot ahead, versus they would have to plan again if they're gonna make the Snyderverse again. Hiring the actors back, risking another age thing to deal with, another beard and mustache thing to deal with, another argument from the actors to the directors to deal with, versus the James Gunn thing, where he would hire actors and directors and writers that work well together. It's like making sure actors and directors don't fight being a good thing. It's like planning stuff ahead, many years ahead, is a good thing. It's like a movie that comes out not being a guarantee means sequels also might not be a guarantee. It's like if the Snyder Cut came out in theaters, being 4 hours might not make enough money to make it worth it. It's like if the Snyder Cut was cut in half to fit the show times to be able to show the movie a lot of times would ruin the movie, meaning people will like it less, meaning it still might not do well because people would watch it less because people would have bad word of mouth. It's like DC finally has a plan. Having it as its own studio was a good idea. The only thing I kind of agree is it should have been a complete reboot, which means the Snyderverse would have just completely non-existed after that. But again, making it a completely new universe might not be a good idea either, because recognition of actors and characters is good too. It's like it's a good thing that they have a plan. It's like hiring someone that wrote a lot, directed a lot, being a creative, being the CEO in the creative side, being a good thing. Comedic side, good. Has some dramatic skills, has some horror skills, and has a lot of connections. And is a big fan of comic books. And proves that he's a big fan of comic books by showing pictures of him reading comic books. When did Zack Snyder show pictures of him reading comic books? If he was going to be like the leader of the DCEU, shouldn't he show his knowledge of comics? I don't know. I just think it's a good idea for a director or a person that's in control of the DCU to show that he knows what he's talking about. Also, mentioning things that, like, oh, this, I was inspired by this comic book line of DC stuff. That's why I made this character like this. Because if you wanted a completely negative Superman, you could easily did the Russian Superman. But of course that would take away the audience of a big portion. At the same time, you're already taking away the audience of a big portion of people that want a positive Superman. And also, the creator of Superman were two immigrants that came to America and made Superman because they made a character that they can be inspired by and say that Superman was positive because he was happy to be an American. He was seeing the world in a positive light, saving everybody, being like a good-hearted person, instead of killing Zod right off the bat. And instead of being a downer, and also, if you wanted to do some stuff early, I think Zack Snyder introducing Supergirl would have been a big move. And no, the company Warner Brothers had nothing to do with, actually had somewhat to do with bringing Superman back, but The Rock is the one that convinced them. So The Rock's the one that did it. So yeah. Alright.